I'm here with David Horovitz, founding editor of the Times of Israel. David, this conference is dealing with all of the issues facing tomorrow. In your opinion, what are the gravest issues facing Israel in the coming year?
Well, I think most people would agree that Iran's closing in on a nuclear weapon is potentially an existential threat to Israel that we hope the international community will be able to thwart short of military intervention. We believe that economic pressure can present the Iranian regime with a dilemma. Basically, if they want to push on to the nuclear weapon, they risk losing power, and that's what we hope will happen. We hope the economic pressure will persuade this regime either to abandon its nuclear program or encourage Iranians to oust their regime. So that's a big issue for us. Obviously, an ongoing effort to achieve an accommodation with the Palestinians, where the president, I have to say, is notably more upbeat than most Israelis about the chances. And then there's a big focus here also on relations between Jews in Israel and the Jewish people around the world, and the shared values and the shared interests and so on. That's actually a panel that I'm moderating, is grappling with concerns for the future of the Jewish people around the world, as well as the relationship with Israel.
Are the prospects for peace, in your opinion, bleak, or is there a possibility of a reconciliation in the near future?
I think the prospects are very bleak in the short term, and I'm quite an optimistic person usually. And I think ultimately, we have to strive for accommodations, and we have to do everything we can to create the circumstances. But I think that the sorrow is that there was a period where we made peace with Egypt and we made peace with Jordan, and we were taking steps in the right direction with others, and the region was coming to terms with Israel's legitimacy. I think the real challenge we have in that area now is that Iran has reawakened the notion that the Jews have no sovereign heritage here, which of course is a terrible lie, and reawakened the notion that perhaps the Arab world doesn't have to learn to live with Israel. And the momentum, which had been very positive in terms of gradual recognition of Israel's sovereign right to exist, I think that's been reversed. And the challenge for Israel and constructively minded people throughout this region is to again move towards an understanding, a legitimization of Israel's right to exist, and an effort at accommodation.
Is this Israeli government, in your opinion, doing enough to advance the cause of peace?
Look, I think there's always more that can be done. I think that every grassroots opportunity for cooperation should be encouraged between people who are genuinely interested in building a better future. I also think one shouldn't be naive. I think one should not continue to fund and encourage forces that are seeking the reverse, that are seeking to delegitimize Israel. I think there are all kinds of international organizations. I think there are governments that are getting support that they shouldn't have when they're pursuing a very bleak and counterproductive agenda. One needs to highlight the positives, encourage the positives, reach out to the people who are genuinely interested in building a better future.
The Palestinians have gone to the United Nations and requested a statehood, and they've said that they might be doing that again despite the reticence from the United States and other parties. Do you believe that they'll be successful in this endeavor?
Look, any pro-Palestinian motion in the UN General Assembly will receive support. If the Family of Nations was today asked to revive Israel as it was in 1947, it would say no. The nature of the international community has changed so much in the last 60-something years. I think the Palestinian approach, the unilateral approach, it's hopeless, and it's counterproductive, and it's a breach of the understandings that enabled Israel and the PLO to start talking to each other. This has to be negotiated. We have to agree where the border is going to run. We have to agree what's going to become of certain areas of Jerusalem. We have to discuss water allocations. We have to make sure that a new Palestine can't build an army. It doesn't intend to flood Israel with millions of the fourth-generation descendants of people who used to live in what is today Israel, that they build their Palestine with their refugees in the same way that we built our Israel with the Jewish refugees from Middle East and North Africa. We need to negotiate these issues. You can't achieve statehood by going to an intrinsically imbalanced international forum. You have to build it in partnership with Israel. Israel wants to partner the Palestinians towards statehood. The only caveat we have here is that it not come at the expense of Israel.
They would, of course, argue, the Palestinians, that Israeli settlement construction is hindering the peace process. Do you agree with that?
Look, I think settlement is an incredibly complicated issue. There is no single answer you can give on settlements. I think most Israelis believe that a return to the pre-67 lines renders Israel very difficult to defend militarily. Israelis also feel that we have a paramount claim to the biblically, historically resonant Judea and Samaria, and yet most Israelis are prepared for very, very wide-ranging compromise when it comes to territory and when it comes to settlements. We do need a partner willing to meet meet us halfway. We need a partner that makes it clear that it is willing to take positions that enable Israel to thrive with its current demographic mix and without new military threat. Once we have a Palestinian leadership that's willing to meet us anywhere near halfway, I think you'll find Israelis ready for the most dramatic concessions, even on issues as heart-wrenching and anguishing as settlements.
How do you believe that the Israeli government should handle the issue of the emerging humanitarian crisis in Syria?
Look, Israel should not have to lead the international community, but Israel's voice should be in that international chorus that says it is untenable. It's appalling that the president of Syria is massacring his own people. We wanted to believe that in the new era of modern journalism, when you have YouTube and you have Twitter and you have the capacity to see in real time what is going on, that you couldn't massacre large numbers of your own people in the way that Bashar Assad's father did 30 years ago. And lo and behold, he's getting away with it again. And it's a tremendous, outrageous international moral failure that sufficient pressure has not been ratcheted up in Syria to ensure that he's ousted, that he can't carry on killing his own people. It has to stop.
Why have we not seen that added pressure? Why have we not seen the same sort of action that we saw in Libya?
Because of, like I say, a failure of international moral will. There are areas where in international politics where self-interest is always going to be very, very central, but there are points at which basic morality, humanity, the interests of the lives of ordinary people should be paramount for the international community. And the longer that this goes on, the graver the failure of the international community.
David Horovitz, thanks for spending some of your time with us. We hope you enjoyed the conference.
Thank you very much.